Hey y'all, Shay here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to The Prodigy. Also, don't forget to click the notification bell so you can be notified whenever The Prodigy drops a new video. Most importantly, please share the video you like. Thank you.
What's good? It's your boy 2K here. Man, it's been a long time since I did one of these right here. Shout out to the whole crew, 3kingsboxing.com. Don't forget to go to the website. We really doing our thing over there. The fastest growing boxing media source on the net. Alright. Also, shout out to all of our affiliates, everybody who's been rocking with us, and everybody who's been rocking with us from the beginning. Big shout out to y'all. For this one, man, I want to talk a little bit about Tank Davis and his performance against Yuriorkis Gamboa and the events that have happened since his performance. Kind of prompted me to come back and do one of these type of videos again, man. Also, what's prompted me is, you know, back when I used to do YouTube videos all the time, I used to put up about 4 or 5 videos a week. Back when we had a lot of people on this channel tuning in weekly, right? You know, back then, you try to promote your channel. You do what you can to get people, you know what I'm saying, to listen to what you got to say. You know, making it entertaining, covering a lot of information to capture the ears and the eyes of a lot of the people out there that want to know more about boxing, right? So you out there, you say, man, you know, my channel's the best. Everybody's a casual, etc., right? And there's nothing wrong with being a casual, by the way. Nothing wrong with that. Somebody who watches boxing only for the big names, you're only looking to see one thing, which is typically someone get fucked up, someone get knocked out, you know what I'm saying? Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with being a casual. But the problem is when someone's a casual and they try to argue with a real, true boxing enthusiast. On top of that, you got a casual or a collection of casuals that try to push their casualistic ideologies on a bunch of unsuspecting people who just want to know more about the sport or love the sport, so they go on YouTube to listen, or they go on Twitter to read your tweets, or they go on all these different social media outlets just to listen, hear, watch whatever you got to say, because they just want to know more about the sport, or they just love the sport in general. You know, all of us have talked to people where a boxing fan is like, man, you know, I don't really like so-and-so's YouTube channel, but I listen to it because there's not really that much out there. I mean, he's the lesser of the 70 evils. You know what I'm saying? We've talked to a lot of cats like that. Cats are consistently always in search for some new media source that they can latch onto, some new entertainment source that talks pure boxing that they can latch onto, right? So the problem here is that being in the media with 3 Kings Boxing, before it was me just saying, oh man, all these cats is casuals, they can't really fuck with 2K the Prodigy, they can't fuck with the cats that I affiliate with. Now it's really fact. You know what I'm saying? Before it was a situation, you know, it was all speculation, promoting my channel, etc. Now it's fact. I get a lot of questions from a lot of people. I get a lot of people trying to go at 3 Kings just because they want the ability to say, yeah, you know what I'm saying, I went at 3 Kings, I went at the owner, or I went at the second head guy in charge, or I went at this guy, I went at that guy. Bunch of casual motherfuckers that don't know nothing about the sport, you know what I'm saying, that are out here just putting a damper on the sport we all love. So I'm gonna try to come back and do these videos once again, giving you my true analytical perspective from all 17 divisions. We're gonna start with Tank. Now, Tank took on a 38-year-old former Olympic gold medalist, former unified featherweight champion, right, in Yuriorkis Gamboa. Now, at one time, Yuriorkis Gamboa was seen as a boogeyman in the sport, Definitely was. He was an undefeated fighter. He had quick hands, power. He had good footwork, right? He even had a little bit of defense, which you actually saw a little bit of it in the beginning of the fight with Tank Davis, where Tank was winging these wild shots and Yuriorkis Gamboa was rolling. The motherfucker was pivoting, dodging out of the way. That was probably like the first round. After that, he was taking a beating. But my point is, you saw flashes of the old Yuriorkis Gamboa early in this fight, right? The one that could do that for 12 rounds against anybody. Motherfuckers didn't want to fight Yuriorkis Gamboa. Remember, the big fight back then, there's actually two fights, Gamboa and Juan Lopez. That was the front runner, right? Juan Manuel Lopez, right? And then it was also Gamboa and Mikey Garcia. Now, this is back in 2010, from 2010 to about 2013, right? Those were the two big fights at 126. All those guys were top-ranked fighters. And these are all the fights, or these were the two fights that people really wanted to see at that time, right? Now, 2010 to 2013, that's back when, Yuriorkis Gamboa, Mikey Garcia, Juan Manuel Lopez, Orlando Salido, right? Those guys ruled the roost. You know what I'm saying? Daniel Ponce de Leon. You know what I'm saying? You can even add Rafael Marquez. He was another guy at 126. All those guys were in that division, and all those guys were fighters that were respected in the sport of boxing. Some of those guys fought each other, but some didn't fight each other, right? But those were the fights that people wanted to see. Then Gamboa moves up to lightweight in 2014, takes on Terence Crawford. Now, when he fought Terence Crawford, Crawford was making his first defense of the WBO title, from which he won off of Ricky Burns, right? Now, this was back when Crawford just literally got on the scene. I think it was like 3 fights removed from fighting Gamboa. He had just beat Bradis Prescott. When he beat Bradis Prescott, which I believe was an HBO broadcast, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But what I do know is that it was on a week or 2 weeks notice. Bradis Prescott was supposed to fight somebody else. That person pulled out. Terence Crawford filled in. A week or 2 weeks notice. He beat the dog shit out of Bradis Prescott. That's when the eyes got on Terence Crawford. And then maybe 2 fights later, 2 or 3 fights later, I believe, he fights Ricky Burns and takes the WBO title off of him. You see what I'm saying? So after that, he makes his first defense against Yuriorkis Gamboa, right? So here's the issue. Here's why I went all the way back in time. You got a lot of motherfuckers out here comparing Tank's win against Yuriorkis Gamboa to Crawford's win against Yuriorkis Gamboa. Tank fought Gamboa December 28th, 2019. Terence Crawford fought Yuriorkis Gamboa, and undefeated Yuriorkis Gamboa at that, at lightweight in June of 2014. We're talking 5 fucking years, man. And since then, Yuriorkis Gamboa has lost to Crawford by knockout, which was his first defeat, and he lost to a journeyman, former champion, by the way, but journeyman, turned journeyman, and Robinson Castellanos. He was knocked out in the 7th round against Castellanos, right? And then, of course, he fought former champion, WBA regular, not super champion, a former WBA regular champion, and Jason Sosa, in which he won, but a lot of people thought he lost that fight. And he also fought another guy that nobody really fucking knew, in Alexis Reyes, and he won that fight. And that was also a fight in which a lot of people thought he lost. Mind you, Jason Sosa and Alexis Reyes were 2 majority decision wins. Now, this is after Terence Crawford beat the dog shit out of an undefeated boogeyman and Yuriorkis Gamboa, and before, of course, Tank takes on a 38-year-old overmatched, washed up Yuriorkis Gamboa. People, there's no comparison here, all right? Now, Terence Crawford came out before this fight and said, yeah, man, I got Tank Davis by knockout. You know, everybody knows that Yuriorkis Gamboa wasn't or hasn't been the same fighter since he fought me. Then he watches Gamboa go 12 rounds with Tank. Then he immediately goes on Twitter and says, hey man, stay away from Vasyl Lomachenko and Devin Haney. Now, Tank's response to that was, oh, he's telling me to stay away from Devin Haney and Vasyl Lomachenko, but I fought a guy and knocked out a guy that had him hurt. He also mentioned that Terence Crawford was being touched up in his last fight. Now, Tank's response is basically him saying, well, shit, nigga, you might think that I have to stay away from Lomachenko and Devin Haney, but at the same time, the guy that I fought, I knocked him out. You knocked him out, but you got hurt in that fight. I didn't. And you also was getting pieced up and hurt in your last fight. So he's basically trying to discredit Terence Crawford's thought process of Tank not being ready for a killer like Lomachenko, in which they've had ample opportunities to fight Lomachenko going all the way back down to 130 pounds, but they never took that fight. Floyd Mayweather came out and said on numerous occasions that it's not a fight that they're not looking at because Tank is not ready. He also mentioned that they don't have to rush fighting Vasyl Lomachenko because Lomachenko, he said, was 40 years old, which was a lie, right? And Tank is younger. Loma has to rush because he's older. Tank doesn't have to rush. They could just get money fighting who they fighting. So they've already come out and mentioned that they don't want no parts of Lomachenko going all the way back to 130 pounds, right? At least Floyd Mayweather, who likes to talk for his fighters, he's the one that said that, right? Look it up. So that information's already out there, well documented, all right? So why is it that it's such a bad thing for Terence Crawford to say, hey man, stay away from Vasyl Lomachenko, when that's what the fuck you've been doing your whole motherfucking career? Even when you were the IBF champion at 130 pounds, lost it on the scales to Francisco Fonseca, then got the WBA super title from the vacant WBA super title, I believe in a fight with either Liam Walsh or fucking Jesus Cuellar, right? Two guys that probably shouldn't have been in the ring with you any goddamn way. But you got the vacant WBA title off of one of those two guys, right? And you still didn't fight Vasyl Lomachenko, even then. So you've been avoiding that fight. You and Floyd have been avoiding that fight since you were at 130 pounds. Why is it so bad that Terence Crawford advises you to continue to avoid that fight after your performance against Yuriorkis Gamboa, right? That's number one. Number two, how is it that you mentioned Terence Crawford was hurt against Yuriorkis Gamboa like it's some parallel comparison to the Yuriorkis Gamboa you fought last night? The Yuriorkis Gamboa that Terence Crawford fought was an undefeated boogeyman at 126 pounds. Mikey Garcia didn't want no parts, and Juanma Lopez, while he was out in the media saying he did, he was kind of hesitant at wanting those parts. Top Rank was hesitant at making that fight because a lot of people were saying Yuriorkis Gamboa was going to give Juanma Lopez his first loss. Now, when you go back and look at it, Juanma Lopez got destroyed by Orlando Salido, a guy that Yuriorkis Gamboa had beaten previously, right? So you go back and look at it and be like, yeah, he probably would have got his ass whooped. You know what I'm saying? Bob Merrim has a keen eye at being able to see if his fighters are ready for particular fights. He's very good at that. You know what I'm saying? He's very good at doing that shit. A good example recently was fucking Maurice Hooker and Jose Ramirez. Very keen eye. So keen that he said, fuck it. Y'all can have that fight on the zone. Y'all can air the fight. You know what I'm saying? Maurice Hooker can have a fight in his hometown of Dallas, Texas. I don't give a fuck. I already know my guy's gonna beat this motherfucker down. That's exactly what happened. Maurice Hooker had all the advantages. Hometown crowd, network, everything. And still got beat the fuck up. Bob Bram has an excellent eye at knowing who he should match his people up with. He was hesitant to match Yuriorkis Gamboa against one of his proteges in Juanma Lopez and Mikey Garcia. So that's how much of a fucking boogeyman Gamboa was at that time, right? Now, granted, he moved up to lightweight. He was the smaller man in fighting Terence Crawford. But at the end of the day, he was still filled with the confidence that he had as an undefeated boogeyman, also a undefeated fucking unified champion at 126, right? He had all of that confidence. See, boxing, I always tell you guys, is 95% mental right? And a lot of that mental comes with motivation, discipline, confidence, high self-esteem, all of that shit, right? All of that shit. Being able to understand what to do next in real time when you're in a fight, right? That's called making adjustments. Executing the game plan the right way, having the mental capacity to not get derailed off of your game plan and continuing to execute the correct one, right? Not letting your opponent derail you mentally with the things that he's doing. Boxing is 95% mental, man. And this aspect at which I'm talking about mentality here, Gamboa was mentally fit at that time because he was beating the shit out of everybody. He was a unified champion at featherweight. Niggas was actively ducking him. That's why he said, yeah, I'll fight Terence Crawford for his belt at 135. Don't mean shit to me. I got all the confidence in the world. And he brought that confidence in the ring with him and hurt Crawford, but ended up getting knocked out because Crawford was just the better fighter, right? This is not the same Yuriorkis Gamboa that fought Tank Davis. You can see it in the fucking ring. Gamboa, to me, honestly, besides that first round, he was looking like an amateur. Shots are way too wide. He was rushing in. Motherfucker was doing more holding than two couples at a goddamn prom night. You know what I'm saying? He was holding his ass off, man. Felt like nigga wanted to make love to Tank Davis, bruh. He didn't know what to do. Tank was too fast, right? Had too much power. Reflexes were on point. Tank is 25 years old. He's 13 years Gamboa's junior. Gamboa can't keep up with that shit no more, especially after you saw him lose to a guy like Robinson Castellanos. Come on, people. It's not the fucking same, man. Nowhere near. After you saw him get a majority decision he probably should have lost to fucking Alexis Reyes. After you saw him get a majority decision he probably should have lost to Jason Sosa. It's not the same. Stop fucking acting like it is, man. That's number 2. Number 3. Tank, you bring up Yuriorkis Gamboa. Yuriorkis Gamboa is a former Olympian similar to Yuriorkis Gamboa, though he didn't win gold. At the time that Terence Crawford fought him, he was the number 1 contender. An undefeated number 1 contender at the welterweight division for the WBO rankings. All right. Now, I didn't like the whole Terence Crawford versus Yuriorkis Gamboa fight being announced. I didn't want to see that fight. I was mad the fight was announced. But at the end of the day, it was mandatory, right? So if you want Terence Crawford to continue to be a champion so that one day he does get in the ring with those PBC fighters, and I'm going to get on Terence Crawford's ass about that in a little bit. Stay tuned. But just in case he does get in the ring with those PBC fighters that hold those other 3 belts, right? That would be Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence. We have an opportunity to have an undisputed champion, right? So you want him. Not only do we have an opportunity to see an undisputed champion, we have an opportunity for 2 excellent fucking fights that could lead us to undisputed champion, right? We're talking classic type fights that will go down in history. So you want him to keep that WBO title. So in order to keep it and not get stripped, he's got to fight a guy like Yuriorkis Gamboa right now, right? Simply because he's with Top Rank. All right. Now, I didn't like the fight. Terence Crawford didn't fight well to me, right? He was dropped, and he was dropped in a fight in which he said he was never hurt, which was a lie. He was definitely hurt. He was definitely dropped. Referee called it a slip. Should have been a knockdown for Gamboa. 100% absolutely believe that he was dropped in that fight and hurt. But at the end of the day, as I just mentioned about confidence, Yuriorkis Gamboa was an undefeated former Olympian who was the number 1 contender for the WBO, and he was in a fight where it was the biggest fight of his career. Not only the biggest fight of his career, it was an opportunity for him to get a world title, something every boxer, unless you come into the professional ranks knowing that you're just going to be a bum-ass journeyman, right? Every boxer aspires to become a world champion. So he had his confidence level at the highest, right? So that's why he went in there and performed in a way that he probably may not perform like that again. I say this all the time about fighters when it comes to mentally being fit going into a fight in which they may be a major underdog, right? Daniel Jacobs versus Gennady Golovkin. Y'all can go back in my video archives, man. I don't ever delete videos. I used to murk the shit out of Daniel Jacobs, man. I had a nickname for him. Daniel Eugene Rutherford Jacobs. You know what I'm saying? That was my nickname for Daniel Jacobs, right? So this was back when he was over there admitting that he was second best in the division behind Gennady Golovkin. He was admitting that shit, right? So I used to be all over his ass, no homo. But then he signs the fight to fight Gennady Golovkin. I told you cats, he signed this fight because he's mentally ready, right? Everyone, including myself, thought that Daniel Jacobs was gonna get floored within 5 fucking rounds against Gennady Golovkin, simply because 2 fights before that, he fought Sergio Mora twice. The first fight, he knocked Sergio Mora down and gets back up. And Sergio Mora, who has a similar knockout ratio to Paulie Malignaggi. I mean, these are the motherfucking original feather-fisted niggas. You know what I'm saying? Of this era, right? But Mora, who has a similar knockout ratio to Paulie Malignaggi, proceeded to get up and knock down Daniel Jacobs with his lead hand while on his back foot. If you know anything about boxing and positioning, when you're punching off your back foot, you're not exactly getting a whole lot of power transferred into that punch, right? Also, your lead hand is usually your weakest. So we're talking about a guy that has a very low knockout ratio, was on his back foot, and landed a punch with his lead hand, still knocked down Daniel Jacobs. And Daniel Jacobs was hurt. It wasn't a flash knockdown. He was hurt. So when you saw that, you immediately was like, oh man, Golovkin gonna murder this motherfucker. But that wasn't the case, right? Daniel Jacobs actually came into the fight mentally fit and performed to the highest degree, to a point where he, to this day, he's fought Sergey Derevyanchenko. He fought the Polish guy that Demetrius Andre fought. I can't think of his name right. Masej Selecki? I believe that's it. Fought him. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. You know what I'm saying? Fought Luis Cuba Arias since the Golovkin fight, right? I believe I mentioned he already fought Canelo as well. He still has not performed to the degree at which he performed against Gennady Golovkin. That was the most mentally fit Daniel Jacobs has ever been in his entire career, because he had the utmost confidence. He knew that he was the underdog. He knew that he has never been a real champion, a real quote champion. At the time, he was holding the WBA regular title. That's like Manuel Char at heavyweight right now. You know what I'm saying? The WBA regular champion is not a real title. I used to say it was. Now, as times have changed, the WBA super champion is the real WBA champion, right? And that belt was being held by Gennady Golovkin. So Daniel Jacobs was coming into this fight. He wasn't a real champion. It was a fight in which everyone thought he was going to lose. So he he had to mentally prepare, mentally and physically prepare, to give the best that he could give. And he did that. Got knocked down in the 4th round, got back up, and proceeded, in my opinion, to win that fight. If you didn't think he won that fight, you know damn well it was a good one. And it was a close one. And he exceeded all expectations in that fight. But has never been able to do that again. That's the same thing we're probably going to see with Egidijus Kavaliauskas. Same concept. Confidence was on cloud 9. This was a big opportunity for him. So he went out there and performed like it was a big opportunity for him. Gave it his all. And did very well. Right? But you probably won't see that from him again. That's what Terence Crawford was facing. Tank Davis was not facing that. Tank Davis was facing a motherfucker that probably should have retired a couple of fights ago. That's who Tank was facing. So this is not a parallel comparison that Tank and a lot of these other dumbass boxing fans out here are trying to make. It's not. See, this is why I try to come back for y'all, man. The realest shit on YouTube, man. None of y'all motherfuckers can argue with me on this. It's all facts. Everything I say, go look it up. At the end of the day, Tank should probably continue to avoid Vasyl Lomachenko, and he should stay away from Devin Haney. But at the same time, he shouldn't. You got the WBA regular championship. What you should be looking to do next is fighting the winner of Teofimo Lopez versus Vasyl Lomachenko. And to be quite honest with you, I think Teofimo Lopez gives Tank problems as well, based on what we saw against Gamboa. You know what I'm saying? But since he has that regular title, he should be looking to face the winner of those two, right? Since Tank is being pushed as this top-notch elite fighter, he shouldn't be trying to avoid no fucking body. I agree theoretically with Terence Crawford that he should avoid those guys, but not realistically. No. Realistically, you need to be fighting all them motherfuckers. Devin Haney, T.O., fucking Vasyl Lomachenko, Ryan Garcia, hell, Luke Campbell. You need to be fighting all them motherfuckers. Not 38-year-old niggas. We're not trying to see that. Jesus Cuellar, brought him up in weight. Hugo Ruiz, brought him up in weight. Tried to bring up Abner Mares in weight as well. Luckily for Abner Mares, he had a fucking a detached retina or some shit. Had an eye injury, some shit like that. Had to pull out. Right? So instead he brought up Hugo Ruiz, a former 122 champion. Right? Jesus Cuellar was a former WBA 126-pound champion who was coming off a loss to Abner Mares when he fought Gervonta Davis. Abner Mares is a multi-division champion, but when Mares got brought up, he had just came off a loss to fucking Leo Santa Cruz. You know what I'm saying? Now, Tank Davis had came out before he fought Gamboa and said, yeah, you know, I'm going to beat Gamboa and I'm going to fight Leo Santa Cruz. Now, granted, Leo Santa Cruz has been calling out Tank Davis, but Tank is definitely running towards a Leo Santa Cruz fight. He's not running towards a Vasyl Lomachenko or Devin Haney fight. No. He's fighting another guy, or at least he's talking about wanting to fight another guy that he's bringing up in weight. Leo Santa Cruz is a former 122 and 126 pound champion who's now moved to 130. He's the WBA super champion at 130 right now. Tank is talking about moving him to 135. Come on, man. Y'all see the trend, man. This shit is ridiculous, man. So Tank is making a career right now fighting guys, bringing them up in weight. Guys that were former champions that formerly had a name, right? That are washed up at that point in their career. He's bringing them up in weight and defeating them. Come on, man. At the end of the day, I would love to see Tank fight somebody who is also in their prime, who is also going to be perceived as an equal threat to him as he is to that fighter, right? And I just want to see him step up. You're a two-time champion at 130 pounds, and now you got a WBA regular title at 135. It's time to step it up, man. Floyd Leonard Ellaby, it's time to step it up, man. Tired of seeing him in there with guys that we already know he could beat. It's ridiculous. And it's not that he's in there with guys that are actually good guys at the time that he's fighting them. He's in there with guys that have been on the decline for some time, and then he's fighting them. That's why we know he could beat them, because those guys are on the decline. It's time to step it up, man. Do what you do in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this shit, but be real. Also, don't forget to go to 3kingsboxing.com for the latest, greatest in boxing news and information on the motherfucking daily. Y'all know what it is, man. Until next time, one.